Welcome to Inspirational Transformational TV show. Amy Whitney here today with my very special guest, Heather Keeso. Heather shares her beautiful story of transformation today. She was walking down the path, trying different modalities, trying meditation in order to treat certain things. And then one day, right basically near the end of her break, where she was able to do different treatments, her life was transformed. Now, Heather helps others on their journey. Heather is a firewalk instructor, and she is an absolute delight. She has some really fascinating things to share with us today, so sit back and enjoy the show. Heather Keeso, thank you so much for joining Inspirational Transformational TV show.
Thank you for inviting me to your show.
My pleasure. Now, I like to start interviews with a bit of background information so the audience can get a feel for your story, for your journey. So before we get into what you're doing now, can you take us back to a point in the life where I suppose I would call you a seeker? I've read on your website you were looking at meditation, reading books, etc. What was drawing you to go down that road of looking at alternative therapies, at meditation, etc.?
Oh, okay. I was approximately 4 years ago, I was off work for a few months, and it was during that time that I was off work that I was somewhat stressed out and trying to find alternate therapies to help me in my life, to help me to deal with certain personal issues I was having. And it was during that time I was off that I discovered meditation and yoga, and I think I looked and read at every inspirational book on the bookshelf in chapters.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I've gone through them all, looked at them all. I actually did some work with a local shaman. I did some essence with a lady, flower essence with a lady, and just trying to break through some stress and issues I was having in my life that was holding me back from many other things in my life.
Yes.
And as I said, I tried so many different things. I was doing some counseling, and everything was working, but it still wasn't, I wasn't where I needed to be the person I needed to be. So I was going to be returning to work approximately 2 weeks prior to after all these things I had been experiencing, and a girl at that time, I was seeing her mention that she had been on a fire walk, and she told me about this fire walk she went to and how exhilarating it was and how wonderful it was and how empowering it was, and she knew what was going on in my personal life, and she said the facilitator was going to have another one the following weekend, and she thought that maybe I should give him a call and see if I could maybe possibly go, that it might be helpful for me. So that's how I ended up going to my first fire walk. I called up the facilitator and I explained to him my personal difficulties I was having in my life, and I asked him if he thought the fire walk would be beneficial. And he probably gave me the most honest answer anybody could give me, and that was, I can't tell you that. And it was like, okay.
Not the sales pitch you were expecting.
No, it's like, oh, okay. So, do I really want to go then? And I thought about it, and my husband was working that evening. He worked shift work, and I was thinking, I was getting kind of bored at home, and I thought I would go because I really didn't have anything to do, and it was a beautiful May evening. It was nice and warm, so I went, packed up my lawn chair, and went to this fire walk. And I didn't know anybody there. I went by myself, and there was probably about 40 people there. And I got there, and it was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I really don't know. But the evening went on, and we did some processes in the workshop, and we had the fire walk. And when we were ready to do the fire walk, I watched a couple of people, and it was like, okay, they did it. And then I thought, and there's just something within me that said, okay, go, it's your turn. And when I got up to the fire, the coals, I kind of looked at them for a few minutes, and it was almost like I felt somebody's hands on my shoulder, and a gentle kind of, okay, go. And I got cross and looked back, and there was nobody there, and it was bingo, just instant passion for this fire walk. It gave me instant energy, instant feeling of I can do anything. There's just nothing I can't do. And that's basically how I first started. And after that fire walk, it was almost like, okay, I got to find another one, and another one, and another one, because I got so much from it.
Yes.
And it was like obstacles. There weren't any. If there was, it was canceled because of the weather or not enough participants. And it was still in me. The next year, it was still in me. And so I decided I was going to go take the instructor's course to learn myself how to hold workshops. Because I felt so strongly that the fire walk had done so much for me that if I could just give to one person what I got out of it, then I would be so happy.
Now, you mentioned that you had stress, anxiety, and you were trying different modalities.
Correct.
Did the fire walk, that one experience with the fire walk, did it shift you out of those states into where you wanted to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And what, just so I can understand, it's like just an internal, something clicked? Is that how you would explain it, or have you thought deeper about?
I think from the first, I probably did about maybe a half a dozen fire walks. The first one was like, wow, I did that, and it was like, okay, I still have feet, and
Yes.
I'm okay. So I think it was more, wow. And then the next couple of ones, it was more like, I thought about it and kind of reflected on it and thought, it wasn't the actual doing the fire walk, it was more what it represented, that if I am facing a fear, a stressor, an obstacle in my life, then I learned some tools from the workshop, from the actual fire walk, that I could apply those in my everyday life.
Okay.
That what I got from that is that how I can actually, those tools that I learned, apply them in day-to-day life. So if I'm facing an obstacle in the real world,
of us non-firewalkers.
Yes, the real world, at work, personal, I can look back and I can think, I can use those tools and apply them.
And so before anybody firewalks, there's actually a course that you do? Is that how it works?
Before a firewalk, there's a workshop, and during the workshop, workshop's about 5 to 6 hours. We like to firewalk in the evening when it's dusk. It's more effective. So over the evening, I do a workshop to do certain tools to help build confidence, to help build empowerment, and work on certain things. So we build up to the firewalk.
Nice.
And at any point during the workshops, the different modalities, the tools that are used, it's all voluntary. Nobody has to walk on the fire. The workshop itself is very empowering and motivating, and even if people choose not to walk on the fire, they still can get the benefit of the energy from everybody else's participation.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so who would you recommend a firewalk to?
Everybody. No, I would, firewalking, just a little bit about the history of firewalking.
Sure, yeah, great.
Firewalking has been on our planet for 4,000 years, actually. It has been around the Eastern world for 4,000 years. It has been used by tribes, native tribes. It's used in Fiji. It has been used by the Norwegians. The Celtics used firewalking. Mainly, the natives have used it in history before they go hunting to build energy.
Yes.
In Fiji, they walk on hot lava. And they wait for 2 days before it cools down before they walk. Certain other countries use it for spiritual purposes. Fire is an element, as we know, and the element of fire brings a lot of energy. Firewalking also is used for spiritual ceremonies. So if somebody is looking for spirituality, the fire is very spiritual. Firewalking is also used for healing. The fire for inner healing, for the energy is very, very healing. For an example, people may go to psychotherapy or talk therapy for years and years and years and have issues in talk, and it's very good. I've also done that, but it's also very, very slow, and eventually whatever issues you have, they move from our subconscious into our conscious mind, and it does take time. And when those issues are moved from our subconscious to our conscious, that's when we recognize them and we can deal with them and we move on, and that's called healing. You can also walk on a fire and be healed in 5 minutes.
Ooh, so, that's a tough call. I don't know. So, I
mean, because the fire, the
energy of the
fire is very, very healing. So, so I would recommend it if people have fears, blocks, obstacles. It's wonderful for that. The firewalk is very, very motivational, very empowering for cooperative businesses as a tool for building team spirit, workplaces for building team spirit, women's empowerment, fundraisers.
Wow.
Lots and lots of different uses for firewalking.
Beautiful. Now, I interrupted you. You were starting down the story about your training. Mm-hmm. So you'd done, I think you said 5 or 6 firewalks, mm-hmm. and that catapulted you into realizing you wanted to be an instructor?
That's correct.
So take us from that point.
Okay, so after doing the firewalks, and I realized that, hey, it wasn't just walking on fire. There's a lot more to it than this, and mm-hmm. that it really does something, and I wanted to give that back, and I found this is my passion. This is...
I love it.
I love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
I'm going to start crying. And it was like, okay, it's very difficult to find a firewalk. I have to learn how to do this myself.
Beautiful.
So I found a course which is taught in California at this, it's called Sundoor Transformational School of Education, and the lady, her name is Peggy Dillon. Peggy has been teaching firewalking internationally for the last 30 years in the United States. She also goes all over the world, different countries, to teach firewalking instructors. Her and another fellow by the name of Tolly brought firewalking to the Western Hemisphere 30 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you went to the best.
I believe I did.
Yeah.
That's who taught me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there sort of like in Reiki where it's passed down from master to student and there's a lineage? Is there a similar thing in firewalking?
I believe Peggy was taught firewalking from the Eastern world, mm-hmm. In Peru, and she was taught by different shamans and Buddhas and whatnot, and she has said she was reincarnated to pass this on to people. Mm. That is her sole purpose in life. Mm-hmm. She, as I said, goes all over the world to teach firewalks, to hold firewalks, to teach instructors, and it's through her instructors that we hopefully give this gift to people that come to our workshops.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. So, your experience, you went to California to study.
Yes.
What was your family, friends, when you announced, I'm off to California to go and become a firewalk instructor, what was the reaction?
Okay. I think a lot of people do not understand firewalking, and people look at me and go, "Are you nuts? Why would you want to walk on fire or hot coals? You have to be absolutely insane." And I really feel that people don't understand the whole concept. The firewalk is only a very minimal, very small portion of the whole process. And yes. As I said, at a firewalk, you don't have to walk on fire to gain the energy or to get the healing. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, a lot of people don't really... I didn't go and announce to the world, I'm going to California to learn how to be an instructor. My husband... even from day one when I did my first firewalk and he came home and I showed him the bottoms of my feet and he was like, okay. He's been extremely supportive of the whole journey I've been on with my fire walking, and my family as well.
Nice. Beautiful. Your husband actually, I can't remember the term you used, but he actually keeps the fire?
He has volunteered to be my fire tender.
Tender.
Mm-hmm.
That's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So you know you're supported.
200%.
Nice.
He's gone to a fire walk with me before I took the course because I wanted him to see, and he himself has never fire walked, but he can see how many things and how it's transformed me and how I have been able to conquer a lot of personal issues in my life.
Wow. And when you were at the course in California, did you feel like, oh, I've come home? Would you call it, I know it's your passion, but being around other people with similar passions?
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. It's like those people there, I would say that's my family.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like my tribe.
Yes.
It
yes.
certainly is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you've come back to Niagara and you've started a business?
Yes, I have.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So after the Firewalk instructor's course, I came home and thought the course was to learn how to instruct people, to hold workshops, to do firewalking. And I came home and thought about what I'm going to do with it, and thought I have to pursue this because, and even more so now, it's in my blood. It's just the passion, it just continues to grow. So since I've been home, I've done some workshops, because this is a nice cold March day with lots of snow outside. Here in Canada we can't do firewalking this time of year, but there's other types of workshops I can do, and which I am doing right now until the better weather.
Beautiful.
Then I'm going to pursue the firewalks. And
what sort of environment do you need to do the firewalks in? Would it go in your backyard, or do you need a large space?
No, you need an open space.
Okay.
That is cleared. You need, actually firewalking could even be done in a parking lot, as long as there's enough open space around it without any overhead wires or trees, things like that. If it's an open space, and generally private, because it can tend to be very noisy with everybody's enthusiasm.
Yes.
Drumming and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have a nice, quiet, open, large space to do a firewalk.
Beautiful. And the first firewalk you're going to do, can you tell us the date and a little bit of detail about that, and we'll post it up on the interview? Sure.
I have planned for my first one to be on the 28th of May. It's a Saturday. Yeah. I believe I have a location, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah. It will probably be down near Shirkston. Okay. I also have one planned for June 25th for summer solstice, one in July the 16th, and another one in August, and one in September. I've pretty well planned one for every month over the course of the good weather. Beautiful. And when someone does the course prior to the firewalk, can they then attend any of your firewalks, or do they need to repeat the training before the firewalk? The firewalk is a workshop in itself. Okay. So if you wanted to do a firewalk, you would do the workshop, which builds up to the firewalk. The firewalk is the end of the workshop. Okay. The workshop we build from. Okay. We actually build from the beginning, we build the fire as a group.
Yes.
And we start the fire as a group. We put our prayers into the fire. And
how beautiful. Lovely. Now, will you tell us a little bit more about the different tools that you use? Because it's not just fire walking, you have other, I'll call them tools.
Okay. To have a workshop and just try to build energy and go fire walking is a lot to ask for people. So during the workshop, there are different tools to help to build people's confidence, to help to build people's energy, to different little, what would you say, projects that we work on that actually builds to getting to the actual process of the fire walk. So by the time I say, okay, let's go fire walk, everybody's going to go, yes! Instead of, no. Yeah. So there's a couple of different tools that I can use. Yeah. One is an arrow break. There is another one called rebar bending. There is board breaking. And these are just small little modalities that help to build people's energy, to help to build people's confidence, to help to build a group energy, spirit, to take that to the fire.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask you to show something really special, and tell us a little bit about the rebar. So Heather, for people who don't know what a rebar is, will you describe what it's made of, and then tell us a little bit about what you're holding?
Sure. Rebar is steel, iron steel, and this particular piece of rebar is about 3/8 inch thick. Rebar is used, put in cement, to hold cement as a foundation. It's a tool used basically for concrete, that is put in concrete, because it's very strong and it's very, it holds concrete very well. So one of the tools that is used, or can be used in a workshop, is that we can actually bend rebar ourselves.
I love this.
So what I have here is a piece of rebar. This rebar is 6 feet 6 inches long. Yes. It was at one time straight. I bent this rebar with another firewalk instructor during my course, and basically when you have enough energy between you and somebody else, for this particular tool that we used, when you have enough energy and when you have enough focus, there is nothing you cannot do. We bent this rebar together. Myself, I had one end in the small notch in my throat. My partner had the other end in his notch of his throat. We had in our mind a goal that we both wanted. We focused on the goal, and we walked towards each other, and we bent this.
That's amazing.
There is nothing you can do if you put your mind to it.
Wow. And is there any discomfort, or is it like, obviously you feel it's sitting there?
If you were to put your finger on your little notch here and press on it, you feel a little bit of a tightness. Yes. That's basically what you feel, because you are so focused on what you are trying to do.
Incredible.
I'm also a registered nurse.
Yes.
And I've been a nurse for 30 years, and it's only in the last couple of years that I finally figured out what this little notch is for. It's for bending rebar and breaking arrows.
Do you tell your patients that?
No. It has no other purpose but those two purposes.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's absolutely incredible. So, and so I understand what you mean now. Like once you go through that and you realize with your mind what you are capable of, taking that outside to your daily life must be so empowering.
It's very empowering.
Do you have any stories of your clients or any feedback that you've received that you want to share? Not using names, obviously, but transformations or anything.
At one of my workshops, I had a girl who attended my workshop, and she did not, which is very interesting, she did not partake. This was just recently. She did not partake. The tool I used in that workshop was the arrow breaking, and she did not partake in it. She chose not to. That workshop, I also had a glass bed. That's another tool I have for walking on glass. She did not partake in any of those yet. She sent me the most beautiful, beautiful note of how much she had gotten from that workshop and how much she learned in her personal life that helped her to deal with issues. And she didn't even do the modalities.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was completely amazing.
So transformation at its finest.
Beautiful.
And where to from here for you? So you're a registered nurse. Will you continue spreading the actual course that you're doing through Niagara? Is that your future goal?
I will continue to spread this course wherever it takes me.
Beautiful. So we'll post your website for sure.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible and beautiful what you do.
Basically, when we talk about energy, or I call it new life force, the prana within us, there's all kinds of energy. Joy is energy, or new. Love is new. Fear is new. Which is an interesting fact, that fear is energy. So when we have energy, regardless of what kind it is, and regardless of what is going on in our life, if our energy is equal or greater to whatever obstacle we are facing, we can cross or get through that obstacle. For example, if we have a fear of, let's say, crossing the fire, it is known, and it's well known by natives, by people that fire walk, when our energy is greater than or equal to that fire, we will cross it unharmed. When our energy is equal or greater to whatever obstacle we face in our life, we will get through that obstacle successfully.
That's interesting. And so, to raise the energy, it is to face the fear and walk across the fire, or do you have other techniques?
To raise the energy, it is things that we do in the workshop, but it's also mainly, it's our focus. Okay. It's being focused and aware.
Yes.
And being in the moment, and not focusing so much on, okay, this bed of coals and having to cross it. It's focusing on what's at the end of the other side. It's getting through that obstacle and walking through it.
Amazing.
The hardest part is taking that first step, whatever it is in life that we face, that fear, that obstacle. It's that first step. And once we take the first step, then the rest is easy.
Beautiful.
An example for me was having to fly to California to take my course.
Yes.
I was absolutely scared of flying.
Wow.
not only did I have to fly, I had to fly by myself. And so this was like, oh boy, if I hadn't have firewalked, and if my passion hadn't have been so strong, I would not have gotten on that plane. Even if I hadn't gone to take the instructor's course, if I had to fly for any other reason and have had taken some firewalk workshops, I would have been able to get on the plane and fly using the techniques I had learned.
Amazing.
It's getting through those obstacles and seeing and knowing and focusing what's on the other side. So the firewalk or the rebar bend or the arrow break or the glass bed is only a means of a metaphor of obtaining what's on the other side. What is your focus? What is your goal that you want to achieve?
It's interesting you use the word focus. When you're working with people, or even just in your daily life, I notice this, and maybe it's just me, but people are losing focus. Just they have those things in their ears. They're not actually in the moment, like you said. Like everything you listed. When I look at, not to generalize, when I look at general society, it feels like they're not in the moment. They're not focused. So when you say firewalking or your workshops are for everyone, truly to bring us back to that place.
Absolutely.
It's perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially the glass bed walk. Actually, it's almost like a form of meditation, because when you walk on the glass bed, you have to be so focused and in the moment of what you are doing. Your mind cannot be distracted. When I walk on a glass bed, I walk on that bed completely in the moment. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do after I finish this. I'm not going to be thinking about the fact I have bills to pay or I have groceries to do. It's being completely focused in the moment. And in society, you are right. We are all, our minds are everywhere. We don't stay in the moment, and we miss so much because we're worrying about tomorrow or next week or the week after or the month after, and that we miss so much of the present.
Beautiful.
Where we really need to be in.
Yes.
Because life is so beautiful right now, right in this moment.
Amazing.
That's where it's so beautiful. Another metaphor that I use in my workshops is the arrow break, and this is an arrow, and basically it represents a metaphor for what we want to break through in our life. There is a tribe, an Indian tribe, that does use arrow breaking to raise their energy before they do certain ceremonies or whatever. Interesting part is the arrow goes in, again, the small notch of our neck.
Yes.
The one end goes here, the other end goes up against a board. And it's about walking through our barriers, our fears. It's taking that first step in moving forward and breaking the arrow. That's breaking whatever our obstacle is. We write our fear, our obstacle, on the arrow. It's a metaphor, and we walk through it. So that's another obstacle technique, tool that is used in the workshop. It builds energy. An interesting point about this is the sky point of energy is our throat.
What do you mean sky point?
In acupuncture,
Okay.
the point for energy is the throat.
Wow.
So interesting that these techniques we use our throat.
Yes. And for expression, I suppose, as well, it would be symbolic to...
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely, yes. On my website, which is Firewalk Niagara, there is a calendar, and I do have listings for my workshops. But also, if anybody is interested, some of these techniques, other than the fire walk, can be done on an individual basis as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be done in a group, other than the fire walk. So there are lots of interesting things on my website that explains more detail about these techniques, what fire walking is about, and if some of the more frequently asked questions about fire walking.
Sorry, it's okay. It's a really informative website, and
Thank
I love
you.
I love that you do team building and corporate building workshops. I think
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yes, yes.
It'd be awesome. I'd love to work somewhere where they brought someone like you in.
Yes, it's a lot of businesses now are looking at that because of productivity, the way things are in society today with downsizing and whatnot, and getting the most with the employees who they have, to inspire, to build team spirit and productivity. Corporations are using these techniques to help build team spirit. Real estate companies,
Great.
all kinds of different companies.
Well, congratulations on the launch of the website and the business.
Thank you. Thank you,
I'm looking
Amy.
forward to doing the workshop. I'm going to the glass walking, so
I look forward to
I'll
being
blog
there.
about it. Now, I have a few questions that I ask all guests on the show. So, your biggest inspiration in life?
I think my biggest inspiration is to fulfill this passion I have, and to let people know that life can be different. Life can truly be different if we break through our obstacles, the fears that we have, the self-limitation that we have that hold us back in life. If we're able to move through those, how different life can be, because I have experienced that firsthand. And if it's just to, my inspiration is just if I can help one other person to realize that, and they feel that, and it changes their life,
Beautiful.
then that is my goal. That's my inspiration.
That's beautiful. Well, on that note, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Amy. One last thing I just want to say is these techniques that we have talked about today, the rebar bending, arrow breaking, that they should never ever be done without a qualified instructor, and also an instructor that is certified by a firewalk school.
Good point. Thanks for saying that.
Thank you.
Heather, thank you so much for your time today, for your beautiful energy. You're just so genuine, and it's so beautiful to be around you. Now, I also have to thank you because I have done the arrow break and the glass bed walk with you, and what an incredible experience for me. I love, as you know, I loved it so much that I'm bringing my husband to your May 28th fire walk for his birthday. So it's something I think that the people out there need to experience for themselves. You do a beautiful job of describing it, and I could share my experience as well, but it's through action. It's through attending your workshop. So what a gift you gave me by inviting me, and I will be back for more, that's for sure. So thanks again for your time today, Heather. Many blessings and much love.